Guys, croissants are not hard to make, and today I'm going to show you why. Yes, you heard me correctly. This is not a hard recipe to make. All you need is a little bit of knowledge and one of these food scales. In my bowl, I already pre-weighed out all-purpose flour. Into that, oops, it's locked. I'm gonna add my bread flour, my sugar, and my salt. And I'm just gonna give that a little mix to combine it. Sweet. Now add your butter in. So I'm just gonna turn this on to mix until all the butter is combined. While my stand mixer is doing all the hard work for me, I have my cold milk here. Into that, I'm gonna add some cold water. Perfect. You're also gonna need some fresh yeast. So I just found this in the refrigerated aisle at my grocery store. Red Star fresh yeast, it just looks like this. So I'm gonna weigh out 33 grams of this stuff and just add it into your milk. So now you can no longer see any butter chunks in my flour, so everything's evenly combined. And to that, I'm gonna add my dissolved yeast and milk and water mixture. All right, it just started to come together. Stop. Bring it onto your workbench. No flour. And now I'm just kneading it until it comes together. All right, it's come together in a very rough ball. So now all you have to do is put it on a piece of plastic wrap, just lightly shape it into a square shape so it's easier to roll out later. That looks pretty good. And now I'm gonna loosely wrap it in plastic wrap because in the fridge, this thing is gonna expand a little bit and you don't want it to like burst through. So just give it a light wrapping. And that's it. First step done. Throw it in the fridge for about 60 to 90 minutes. While my dough is chilling, I'm just gonna prepare the other layer, which is the butter. So here I have 300 grams of European style cold salted butter. Now, if you're to do anything wrong in this recipe, it's to go for a low quality butter. Don't do it. That cheap stuff that comes in sticks, don't touch it, don't go near it for this recipe, okay? You have to go for the high quality. It is gonna be more expensive, but the European style butter. President brand is what they recommended me, but I can never find it. So I just go for anything with about 12% butter fat. If you look at the nutrition label, look at the back, most of them will say 11 grams of fat. Look for one that says 12. Okay, now that we're clear on that, let's get into it. So I'm gonna start by slicing my butter in about even slices and laying it across my parchment paper that is measured out to an 8x8 square. All right, so I'm just gonna give them all a little press together. Place a secondary piece of parchment over your butter sheet. Who needs a gym membership when you got butter? Here's what I like to do. I like to cut where it went over the edge and add it to the places where it hasn't quite filled in. My butter is softened a little bit now, so that's when I like to go in and kind of just scrape the seams together. Kind of make it level, make sure everything's uniform. Not sure if that's proper technique, but that's what I like to do. And guys, it really doesn't have to be this precise. I just get a little bit crazy when it comes to baking things. So if you're new to this channel, it'll be a trend you'll notice if you decide to follow me. Speaking of, if you guys want to subscribe because you're enjoying my butter scraping content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'd love for you to join me. Now just top it off with your other piece of parchment. Words are hard. Top it off with your other piece of parchment paper and throw it in the fridge until you're ready to use it. Time to start putting together our croissants. So I'm just gonna lightly flour my work surface. Try to use as little flour as possible here. And this is gonna be rolled out to a 12 by 12 inch square. Try to keep it in a square shape while you roll it, and also make sure to give it a rotation every couple of rolls, just to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom of your board. So now take your butter out of the fridge. It should be very cold at this point. When you place your butter on, it's going to make a diamond inside of this square, like that. And there should be 2 finger widths on every side of the butter. Now, you're just gonna take your rolling pin and roll out each of these little flaps so they're a little thinner. All right, so taking one of your flaps, you're gonna pull, press it tightly around the butter so it encases it. Now the opposite one, again, up, and pressing right into the other side. Now just finish it off with the other 2. You should be left with this beautiful envelope shape. Now, we have 1 layer of butter and we need to multiply that. So I'm gonna take my rolling pin and roll it out until the length is about 18 to 24 inches. Now I'm making these in the winter, so cold is not really a problem. It's probably like 68 degrees in here, pretty chilly for me personally. So my butter is not gonna melt very quickly, but if you are doing this in a very hot environment, you're gonna have to be very, very aware of how cold your butter gets. If it starts to feel like it's melting and seeping into the dough, chuck it in the fridge immediately, because if your butter melts and seeps into the rest of the dough, you're gonna end up with more of a crescent roll. It's not gonna have those flaky layers. So if your dough comes out looking like that, you know your butter got too warm during the rolling out process. So just be very aware of that. Now we're ready for our first fold. So this process is just going to multiply our butter layers. So first I'm gonna take my right side and fold it about 1/4 of the way over my dough. Take my left side and knead it. Make sure the edges are pressed together so the seam is seamless. So now our butter layers have doubled. So we have 2 layers now, and now we're gonna double it again to create 4 layers. Just fold it right in half, press it down, and that's called a book turn because it looks like a book. And now we have 4 layers. So wrap this up tightly in cling film and throw it in the fridge for 60 minutes. 1 hour later, and my dough is ready for its second turn. So this is the exact same process as the first one. We're just gonna roll it out and do 1 book turn. Same exact thing, 1/4 of the way in, just a tiny bit. Other side coming to meet. And 1 last fold over, and that makes 16 layers of butter, guys. All right, 5 minutes of work, and you have your next book turn done. So into the fridge it goes for another hour to chill and relax. All right, 1 more hour later, and my croissant dough is looking like this, 16 layers of butter. We're gonna take it 1 step further. You can technically stop here. That is enough layers to make a flaky croissant dough. That's what my class told me. But I wanna make it double as crispy and do 32 layers. So I have a lightly floured dough here. And I'm just going to roll it out until it's double its length. Now, we're doubling our layers, pressing it together. All right, guys, that's literally it for today. You're just gonna let this chill in the fridge overnight until we're ready to roll it out, cut it, and bake it tomorrow. We're here on day 2, and this is the rolling out and baking day.
How do you say day 2 in French?
Le deuxième jour.
Exactement, exactement. Aujourd'hui, laissons place à la dernière étape, celle qui consiste à transformer cet appartement en une réelle boulangerie.
Une boulangerie française?
Oui, a French boulangerie. I don't know why I said that in an American accent.
You did, didn't you?
Does not matter. It's about to smell like home.
Ooh, yes. France. All right, I've made these a bunch of times for him, and I know he loves them, so
I do.
Get out of my kitchen so I can make them for you.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao. So now I'm just rolling out my croissant dough into a 9 by 24 inch rectangle, or until it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. So as you can see, when I roll out my dough, I'll stretch it, and then it kind of pulls back on me like this. That's because the gluten needs some time to relax. It's a little overworked right now. So since it's pretty chilly in my apartment, I'm just gonna let it sit on the counter for a few minutes. My dough is 9 inches by about 32. It's bigger than 24, but that's what it needed to get to 1/8 of an inch thickness. Now I'm just going to trim off all the excess so it's in a perfect rectangle. This is definitely easier with a pizza cutter, but I don't have one, so if you have one, definitely use that. So now I'm going to measure out every 4 inches on the bottom of the croissant dough. And then on the top, I'm going to measure 2 inches in from the same side you started on. And then measure every 4 inches from there. Now all that's left to do is take the point on the top and measure on diagonal onto the point on the bottom. And cut. Put that piece in your scrap pile. Do the same from this mark to this mark on diagonal. And there you have it, a nice triangle for your croissant. So, to fold these croissants, you're gonna take your knife and cut about 1 inch in. And then you're gonna take it, you're gonna pull it and kind of do a little slap to elongate it, like that. And now with this little split end, you're just gonna open it and pull it so the points are on the corners and begin to roll. There you go. It's a croissant. I have a sheet lined with some parchment paper, and this seam on the croissant right here, you're gonna wanna place it under it. So it's gonna lay on top of the seam. Otherwise, if it unfolds and unfurls in the oven, you know you did not place that seam underneath. Once your croissants are done and on their sheet pan, you're just gonna cover it with plastic wrap and cover them with a tea towel. I'm gonna set these to the side so they can prove. I forgot to mention, guys, do not throw these croissant scraps away. They make an incredible monkey bread. And if you guys want the recipe of that, comment down below and I might make a video on how to use up your croissant scraps. All right, guys, my croissants have finished proving. As you can see, I've done one of the poke tests already. But if you can see, I poke my finger in and it indents and then it slowly springs back up. That's when you know it's done. It's not over or under proofed. It's ready for the oven. So first, I'm just gonna give it an egg wash. All right, these guys are ready for the oven. They're gonna go in a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Hi guys, bake well. Ooh, they smell so good. Look at them.
These look legit. These look real. I'm not joking. These look just like the ones in France.
Right?
Whoa! If we had a microphone up there, you could just hear the. You hear that?
I hear it. Like, this recipe never lies, right?
The flakiness, the butteriness. Is that a word?
Yeah, butteriness.
Okay, great. It tastes amazing.
Yeah. I've made this recipe a bunch and it never fails me this way, so it's a really foolproof recipe and this French man approves, so.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, this definitely teleports me back
it's like flaky.
in France. This is the real thing. It's delicious.
You know, the test of a good croissant is not just the crispy, flaky outside and being able to see all the layers.
The test is if you can karate chop it and it cuts perfectly into half.
No, that's not.
Just joking.
It's when you cut it open, you can see all the little lamination bubbles. I'll show you what I mean. Like this.
Ooh, okay.
See how it looks like a bit of a
spider web?
Yeah, like a spider web.
This is the proof that it's real. It's a real good tasting croissant.
Basically. I am breaking the myth that croissants are hard to make. You can do these at home, I promise you.
Didn't you literally take a class, a croissant making class?
Yes, I took a class only to find out how foolproof these are. I've made them a whole bunch, and every time they come out amazing. Like, once you know the technique, once you know the basics and the recipe, like there's really not much that can go wrong.
Can't mess them up, right?
Can't mess them up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Can you say it in French?
N'oubliez pas de liker, de partager, de commenter.
Et surtout.
Surtout de vous abonner. Pourquoi? Parce que ces croissants étaient délicieusement traditionnels.
Merci.
Am I forgetting something?
Check me out on Instagram right here and subscribe so don't miss out on any of my future videos. And we will see you in the next one.
Bisous!
Bisous.